Have you ever noticed a married woman acting differently around you? Maybe it's the way she speaks, the words she chooses, or a hesitation before she says something. Words have power. They slip out when emotions override logic. A married woman who secretly likes you may never admit it, but her words will betray her. 5 specific words give it away. Words that seem ordinary but, when spoken in certain ways, reveal something deeper. Most men overlook them. They assume she's just being friendly. But if you pay attention, you'll notice patterns. The way she phrases things. The slight emphasis on certain words. The hesitation before saying something she knows she shouldn't. She's careful but not careful enough. You just need to know what to listen for. Understanding this requires a different mindset. A detached one. The Stoics believed that emotions cloud judgment, that true wisdom comes from observing reality without being controlled by it. That's what you must do. Instead of reacting emotionally, you must see things as they are. When a married woman speaks to you, listen objectively. Her words, tone, and context will tell you more than her actions. So why does this happen? Why would a married woman, someone who has committed herself to another, show interest in someone else? The answer isn't as simple as dissatisfaction. It's about human nature. People crave connection, validation, attention. Even in stable relationships, attraction doesn't just disappear. Sometimes it's about curiosity. Other times it's about emotional gaps in her life. She may not be looking to act on her feelings, but that doesn't mean she doesn't feel them. And when attraction surfaces, it has to go somewhere. Seeps into speech. Into the way she talks to you. Unlike physical actions which can be controlled, words slip out without warning. They bypass the logical filter and expose what's beneath. That's why these 5 words matter. They don't just suggest attraction, they reveal it. But before we break them down, understand this. Recognizing these signs is one thing. Responding correctly is another. A Stoic man does not get drawn into emotional chaos. He observes but does not react. He understands but does not encourage. He remains centered, in control, and unaffected by external forces. When you hear these words, your reaction determines everything. Most men either fall into the trap of reciprocation or awkwardly dismiss the moment. Neither is ideal. Instead, approach it with neutrality. Acknowledge what is happening but do not let it pull you in. The moment you respond emotionally, you lose control. So what are these 5 words? What phrases expose a married woman's hidden attraction? It's not about what she says directly but what her words imply. These phrases carry subtext, unspoken meaning that reveals more than intended. When a woman likes you, she speaks differently around you. She phrases things in a way that signals deeper thoughts. The first word is subtle but powerful. It creates a comparison, an implicit contrast between you and the men she interacts with daily, including her husband. The moment she uses it, she's telling you that you stand out, that you're different, and that difference is what draws her in. Then there's the phrase that speaks of longing, of unfulfilled desires. It's not a direct confession, but it hints at regret. A thought she knows she shouldn't have but lets slip anyway. A hypothetical scenario where things could have been different. Where maybe, just maybe, the two of you met under different circumstances. Next, there's the word that suggests exclusivity. The creation of an emotional bubble between the two of you. A phrase that implies a connection beyond casual conversation. When a married woman uses it, she's testing the boundaries, seeing if you recognize the underlying message. Another phrase introduces secrecy. The idea that something should be kept between the two of you. When people start keeping secrets together, even small ones, an invisible line is crossed. It builds a level of intimacy that doesn't need physical touch to exist. The moment she suggests confidentiality, she's signaling trust, sometimes a trust that's too deep. And finally, the phrase that exposes emotions. Women do not casually express their deepest feelings to just anyone. If she shares certain emotions with you, if she verbalizes feelings in a way that suggests safety, comfort, or deep connection, she is signaling something much more significant than simple friendship. Each of these words, when spoken in the right context, reveals a shift in emotional boundaries. And once you recognize them, you can't unsee them. The question then is, what do you do when you hear them? Because the next move determines everything. When a married woman likes you, she won't always say it directly. But her words will betray her. 5 specific words, when spoken in the right context, reveal hidden attraction. They may seem innocent, but they carry an unspoken message. Recognizing them is key. Not just to understand her feelings, but to control how you respond. The first word is different. When she says, "Oh, you're different," it's never just a casual remark. She's making a comparison. Consciously or unconsciously, she is telling you that you stand out. That you are not like the other men in her life. This is important because attraction starts with contrast. People are drawn to what feels unique or uncommon. If she emphasizes this, she is noticing something in you that she doesn't see elsewhere. But a Stoic man doesn't let flattery cloud his judgment. He recognizes the subtext but remains detached. He doesn't let someone else's perception define him. The second phrase is "I wish." These 2 words alone don't mean much, but when paired with the right follow-up, they reveal regret. I wish we had met earlier. I wish things were different. I wish we had more time together. These statements imply an unspoken longing, a scenario where circumstances were not in the way. When a married woman says this, she is letting you into a thought she shouldn't be having. A hypothetical world where the timing was different. The mistake most men make is entertaining the idea. They start imagining it too. But a Stoic doesn't indulge in what-ifs. He stays rooted in reality. Acknowledging attraction is one thing. Acting on it is another. The third phrase is "we should." We should get coffee sometime. We should talk more. We should do this again. This is a shift from casual conversation to something more personal. It's a way of testing the waters, of suggesting time together outside of normal circumstances. It's an invitation, subtly disguised. When a married woman starts making suggestions that create a deeper connection, she is stepping into dangerous territory. A Stoic man recognizes this but does not get pulled in. He knows that agreeing too easily creates an expectation. But rejecting outright can also shift the dynamic. The key is to remain neutral, not feeding into the emotional weight behind her words. The fourth phrase is "don't tell anyone." The moment secrecy is introduced, a new layer of intimacy is created. When a married woman says this, she is forming an emotional alliance. Whether it's a small, harmless secret or something more personal, the act of keeping something just between the two of you builds trust, sometimes trust that goes too far. When a woman shares something private and asks you to keep it between you, she is creating exclusivity. Most men see this as a sign of deeper connection, and in many cases it is. But a Stoic man does not engage in secrecy that could compromise his principles. He understands that emotional entanglement often begins with small moments of exclusivity. Once you start keeping secrets, even minor ones, the bond deepens. And that is where things get complicated. The final phrase is "I feel." When a married woman expresses her emotions to you in a way that feels unusually deep or revealing, she is crossing a boundary. I feel like I can talk to you about anything. I feel safe around you. I feel like you understand me. These statements go beyond casual conversation. They indicate emotional trust. And trust is the foundation of attraction. Women do not share their deepest emotions with men they see as just acquaintances. If she is opening up to you in a way that suggests emotional safety, she is subconsciously attaching to you. Most men take this as a sign to get closer. A Stoic man, however, sees it for what it is: an emotional test. He does not let his ego get involved. He does not become her emotional escape. Instead, he sets clear boundaries, knowing that emotional attachment is often the first step toward something more complicated. When you hear these 5 words, your response determines everything. The key is not to react emotionally, not to get drawn into the moment. Recognizing attraction does not mean acting on it. The Stoic approach is simple: observe, understand, and remain in control. Because the moment you let emotions dictate your actions, you lose power. And in situations like this, control is everything.